Powered by the Montana Television Network. This is the 5:30 News on Q2, Montana's news leader.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us on your Monday. I'm Jeanelle Slade. Well, it's a rite of passage as gates to Yellowstone National Park open for tourists today. Vehicles lined up from around Wyoming and across the country to get the first look at spring in the nation's oldest park, as all entrances in Montana remain closed. Q2's Jay Cohn and chief photographer Paul Humphrey made the trip today to see if the park, even just half open, still pulls in the people.
Cody, Wyoming bills itself as the gateway to Yellowstone Park, and it was never more true than today, as the east entrance, about 70 miles up the road, became the first Yellowstone entrance to open for the season.
A steady stream of cars and campers making their way through the east entrance that opened at 10 a.m. this morning. Yes, the lure of Yellowstone still strong, maybe even more so in this pandemic, as people seek a little peace of mind in the great outdoors. If you are planning a trip to Yellowstone, though, come prepared. The park has modified its visitor services to prevent the spread of COVID-19. The park asking people to wear masks in high visitation areas, and there's a limit on the number of people allowed in the visitor centers that are open. We'll have much more for you tonight at 10 o'clock. For now, Jay Cohn reporting for MTN News in Yellowstone National Park.
All right, thanks, Jay. And Jay tells me even in a pandemic, Yellowstone is a great spot to look at license plates. He says he saw visitors from New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Illinois, and even Texas. Well, here in Montana, many are wondering when the three gates here in Montana will open for the season. As of now, Governor Steve Bullock has not set a date for that to happen. But as MTN's John Shearer reports, some business owners want that to change sooner than later.
What's keeping the Montana gates to Yellowstone closed is the state's 14-day quarantine requirement for out-of-state visitors. Governor Steve Bullock insists it's working.
We have the lowest hospitalizations and cases per population in the nation.
So Bullock says he's unlikely to lift the quarantine until at least the 1st of June. Business owners say he should reconsider.
We need to get open. We need to, the virus is a terrible thing, but we have to deal with it, and we just can't have the whole country go bankrupt.
That Montana should take a closer look at what guidelines we have so that our businesses can get back to somewhat normal.
We need to figure out how we're going to deal with the new normal, because if you wait too long, we can't exist.
Park Superintendent Cam Shawley admits it's a tough decision.
We're doing the best job that we can to reconcile divergent opinions on these issues with our partners.
Shawley said he hoped Montana and Wyoming could agree on an opening date, but Bullock wants assurances that the park will be ready for the crowds.
Including health screening protocols, a surveillance testing plan, the limiting of large gatherings and frequent cleaning and sanitation requirements.
If they use the best practices for mitigation and keeping themselves and others safe, we can move forward and there won't be any problems or minimal problems.
But there's one step Shawley says the park just won't take.
I will not put my staff at risk of having them attempt to socially distance large crowds of visitors who decide not to adhere to social distancing guidance.
Business owners we spoke with agree that behavior of park visitors is the key to keeping it open. They say every business needs to impress that upon their guests. In Bozeman, John Shearer, MTN News.
And the governor says another reason he's keeping the Montana gates closed is to give local health departments time to prepare for a large number of tourists. Well, in the midst of the pandemic, Billings School District 2 also wrestles with a $4 million deficit in its elementary school budget. School Superintendent Greg Upham updated parents on Facebook today, saying the district is eyeing a mill levy to help shrink that shortfall. Q2's Mitch Legge brings us those details.
To cover operational costs at the Billings Elementary Schools, come July 7th, district officials will ask voters whether to approve a $1.6 million mill levy. The election on July 7th was originally scheduled for early May, but had to be postponed due to the state declaration of emergency. If approved, the $1.6 million in levy money would help with operational costs, of which Superintendent Greg Upham said are mostly spent on staff. Upham gave details on the levy in a Facebook video today. He said the levy would increase taxes $9.84 per year on the owner of a Billings home worth $100,000. And the owners of a $200,000 home would see an increase of $19.56 per year. And the levy wouldn't fill the shortfall. Upham said the district may still cut $4 million from the budget this year and next.
We are going to have to continue to reduce. I earmarked roughly $4 million, over $4 million in reductions from this year's budget and next year's budget. And hopefully, with the passing of the levy, we will be in much better shape, but it'll be a while before we pull ourselves out.
Upham said the district can't use the $3 million that it's expected to receive from the Federal CARES Act to shore up the elementary school's budget. That money has to be spent on COVID-19 related expenses, like sanitation and helping with students' learning. The ballots for this election will be in the mail on June 17th. In Billings, Mitch Laggy, MTN News.
All right, thanks, Mitch. Now, the Yellowstone County Elections Office website has more information how to make sure you receive a ballot in the mail. Well, we now know the names of 2 victims murdered early Friday morning in 2 separate crimes across Yellowstone County. This afternoon, Sheriff Mike Linder identified 34-year-old Jennifer McCollum as the victim of a murder in Ballantyne. Deputies responded around 6 a.m. Friday to 2135 West Arrow Creek in Arrow Creek Trailer Court. The medical examiner reports that McCollum died from injuries she received during an assault. Well, tonight, those details are not being released. 37-year-old Stephen Phillips is now charged with deliberate homicide in McCollum's death. Linder says Phillips lives in the trailer court but has a different home. And a 33-year-old man shot and killed just a few hours earlier has also been identified. Yellowstone County Coroner Cliff Mahoney says Kenneth COBB died of a single gunshot wound to the chest. It happened around 3 a.m. at a home at 429 19th Street West Friday morning. 62-year-old Robert Knight was booked into the Yellowstone County Jail, and he faces a charge of deliberate homicide. Well, here in Montana, 2 more people tested positive on Sunday, one in Ravalli and the other in Yellowstone County. Those positives bring the state's current reported number to 20 active COVID-19 cases, 434 recovered, and just 4 hospitalized. MTN News at this time is reporting 1 less positive case. Meanwhile, Wyoming health officials report the state's 10th COVID-19 related death. The victims are from Laramie and Carbon counties. Now, the state stands at 577 total COVID cases. 504 have recovered. Well, the Montana VA healthcare system is starting to re-implement many in-person services that had been suspended. Montana was selected as a lead site in its regional Veterans Integrated Service Network. They're using a phased approach to reintroduce healthcare services, including laboratory, pathology, pharmacy, and radiology services. Elective procedures and dental will continue in the coming weeks. The Montana VA will keep screening for COVID-19 and require patients to wear a face mask in the facility. The VA will also use telehealth, which they say has been invaluable over the past 2 months.
So here in Montana, we've been very fortunate. We have a very robust program. So we were able to very quickly pivot to be able to utilize things such as VA Video Connect, where a veteran is able to connect with their provider via a smartphone or a tablet. For veterans that weren't able to use that capability, telephone visits have occurred.
Now, the Montana VA urges veterans to please reach out if they're experiencing any kind of medical issue and not avoid treatment. Well, some good news for parents and kids. The Billings Public Library announces plans to reopen by July 1st. The library has been acting as a daycare center for children of first responders and medical personnel since March 16th. Now, that will end on May 29th. The library will undergo a deep cleaning along with other changes, floor markings, safety shields, and social distancing in computer and reading areas. The library hours will also be modified a bit. They will start at 10 a.m. until 6 during the week and then 9 to 5 on the weekends. Ahead on tonight's 5:30 News, how Montana doctors stepped in to help New York healthcare workers on the front lines during the height of COVID-19. And big news in sports as the PBR announces when fans will be allowed back in. Scott tells us when and where.
And coming up in weather, even though our temperatures will be going up, the amount of rain we will see will probably be going down. We'll tell you more about that coming up in a few more minutes.
You're watching MTN News with Jeanelle Slade and Russ Riesinger. Storm Tracker weather with Bob McGuire, and sports with Scott Green. This is the 5:30 news on Q2, Montana's news leader.